One of the questions I'm commonly asked in the clinic in Parkinson's is whether Parkinson's starts in the gut. And there are various reasons why people would ask this question. They're very reasonable. So one of the clearest things that we see in the world of Parkinson's is that before people get diagnosed with the disease, they often develop constipation. Now, it's a very non-specific feature, so we don't necessarily think that having constipation means that you're much more likely to get Parkinson's, but it is interesting that people who develop Parkinson's do seem to have higher rates of having had constipation before their symptoms emerged. So that's one little clue. And that kind of fits in with the idea that perhaps if we look at some of the work that's done in biopsies to try and make the diagnosis for Parkinson's disease, we can actually see evidence of the pathology that's in the brain, so this abnormal synuclein pathology, also being disseminated through other structures. So people have done skin biopsies and shown the presence of synuclein protein in people with Parkinson's disease, similarly the salivary glands, similarly the bowel. And certainly there is good data out there, and people are trying to work on refining these diagnostic tests. But interestingly, there are a number of people who don't have the disease who also demonstrate that pathology on the biopsies. Now, that might mean that those individuals are at the very earliest stages of getting Parkinson's disease. Or it might mean that this isn't going to be a specific diagnostic marker for the disease. Then the question comes, well, is this related to another hypothesis? And you'll find the prion hypothesis on the website if you want to go and have a look at that video again, whereby something gets into your system, either because you've inhaled it, and we know that you lose your sense of smell in Parkinson's before the disease presents in a number of cases, or you've ingested it. So you see this evidence, if you like, in the periphery, in the salivary glands, in the bowel, where it may be that there's a process that gets into your system, and then it might creep along the nerves. And what's interesting is that if you look at the post-mortem of the brain in Parkinson's, the area that seems to be affected first is the area where the nerve that comes from the stomach or goes to the stomach actually is connected to the brain. So that suggests that perhaps something got from your stomach and crawled all the way up and, if you like, infiltrated your brain or infected your brain, transfected the brain, and then that can spread through the other brain tissues. And this is what the prion hypothesis is suggesting, that you actually have this scenario whereby it might go from one cell to the next cell to the next cell, offering hope that perhaps if we could block that process, we might be able to slow the progress of the disease. It is, however, possible, and all of these evidence is out there, is being further researched, is that it is all just circumstantial evidence. And in actual fact, that all of these cells were destined to die. But in actual fact, the ones that, if you like, are in the periphery seem to be more susceptible, and perhaps they go first, and then it's in the brainstem, and then it's in the brain that can resist the process. So I think when people ask me, does the disease start out in the gut and then get and infect your brain, and therefore offers a way of maybe changing the gut bacteria or cutting the nerves off that go up to the brain, I think we would hold on to our evidence base and say, look, we need more research before we can possibly make that connection.